Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know.
Do it for Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. Hey. Do it for Deuce and Mo. When it comes to the Kings, it's my favorite show. Do it for Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. Hey. Do it for Deuce and Mo. When it comes to the Kings, big hopes and dreams as we cover our kings. Never cover the kingdom, but we loving our kings. And we covered your prayers as we doing our thing. Big Deuce with the par, Lil Mo on the screen. Solo or together, still do it for team. Never switch up for $1 or revenue stream. So we always got each other, balance out the beam. Deuce and Mo, and that's the end of the theme song. Do it for Deuce and Mo.
This is a drink wine at 3 p.m. on a Friday.
When it comes to the Kings, that's my favorite show. Do it for Deuce and Mo.
Well, here we are. Kings getting ready for their 21st coach in 40 seasons. Happy Friday.
What up, Deuce? Hey, Morgan.
It's Friday.
I'm rooting for y'all.
Yeah.
Oh my God, thanks.
Let's go, Kings.
This is a tough day. This is a tough day. Flat out, I'm sorry. When you have an interim coach, you're pretty much punting the season in my mind. There's just not a great track record of an interim coach taking over and all of a sudden things are going in the right direction. You can go over the history. I mean, David Blatt lost his job. Ty Lue took over. That was with LeBron James. Joe Mazzulla took over for Ime Udoka right before the season started with the Celtics. Celtics team, breaking news at this hour, pretty damn good. Doug Christie is not taking over with LeBron James in his prime or that Boston Celtics team.
Correct.
And so here we are, Mike Brown out as head coach. And I'm still processing it at the moment.
Aren't we all? Aren't we all? We all are, Deuce. And there's obviously so many different layers to this that we will go over. But I think what we first need to start with is the emotional side of things, because we come off of last night's loss, and you were saying in last night's podcast, hey, got to keep my phone on just in case. And I looked at you and snarled and said, ew. And you're like, what? That's where we are. This is what the league does. And I just hate it because it makes no sense. Like, what's gonna happen today to propel this team to something else than whatever else it was going to be? And it's not like you're dealing with an asshole. You know what I mean? You're not dealing with like a cancer, a toxic human being that you need to immediately get out of your workplace. And so now we're just back to this. And we've been here before, but it's like, you said this last night too. We got that Costco sample size of the Beam team and the playoffs and a winning head coach. And now it's tainted and it's poisoned and we can't have it anymore. We can't have the whole box. It sucks. It sucks where we're at right now. Happy Friday, everybody.
So if you're just joining us, Mike Brown has been fired by the Sacramento Kings. And to take you behind the scenes, what a fascinating day.
Mm-hmm.
I go out to Kings practice. We talked to DeMar DeRozan and Keegan Murray. And we talked to Mike Brown for, 15, 16 minutes. We end the conversation. All right. The team's on their way to LA. I'm walking back to my car, and I get the Shams Charania notification that the Kings have fired Mike Brown. So Mike Brown coached a practice today, talked to the media, and then was fired before the team boarded the plane. I think we're going to learn a lot of details in the coming days about how this transpired, why this is the timing. Remember, this is an organization that gave Mike Brown a contract extension. They gave him additional money to give him a raise this year and then tacked on 2 additional years. That's guaranteed money. So they ate that money today. Mike Brown's being paid out, right? His extension technically did not even kick in the additional
Correct.
years. He is out. So there's going to be a lot we don't know at this time. Here's what we do know as we sit here and try to process this with all you basketball sickos around the world. We know Mike Brown is out and Doug Christie is likely to be the interim head coach for the Sacramento Kings. Mike Brown, 107 and 88 in his 3 seasons with Sacramento. Won 48 games year one, won 46 games last season. There have been 2 winning coaches in the Sacramento era.
Dude.
Rick Adelman and Mike Brown. And my instant reaction is I just don't like this move. I'm just going to be as blunt as I can about this. Like, Mike Brown was not the problem. Was he perfect this year? No. We nitpicked rotations and minutes and, this was clunky. But this is a players' league. And as a coach, sometimes you're only as good as the roster you have. And you could squeeze and tinker and try to get the most you possibly can out of a roster. But if you don't have the right horses for today's league, you're only going to get so far. And this Kings team obviously was not good enough. They underachieved 13 and 18 on the season, lost 5 in a row, all at home, 6 and 12 at home. That's awful. But when you're looking around pointing fingers, I don't think Mike Brown's the number one you go to.
He wasn't turning the ball over on the floor. He wasn't making all those mistakes on the floor. I mean, he was the one missing the threes. I mean, he helped an offense generate open threes that weren't being executed on the floor. And by the way, a lot of screwed up rotations, in my opinion, by Mike Brown. We can criticize and nitpick a whole bunch of other things, but you're exactly right. All of this, it's such the easy way out. Go for the coach. And we could sit here and go, that's the business. But when you're in a small market and you've only seen so much winning in your time as a fan, as someone that covers it, like, what is it? You can't just turn to, it's a curse. It's this. It's like.
Well, and Mike said something today at practice talking about adversity, and he's all about the smoke, and he'll deal with whatever comes. He's been through this type of stuff before, but he was talking about how you learn a lot about people during these times, like who's with you and who's not with you. I don't know if Mike knew before practice he was getting let go. I don't know what the time frame was. I just thought those comments were interesting. It's like, you know who's with you and who's not. And that's the thing. Like, you give this guy a contract extension because he had a good couple of years in Sacramento. And no, did achieve, were they winning championships? No, but for a team who had a playoff drought that lasted 16 years, this guy brought and tried to establish a culture and brought a soul to an organization that was lacking because they had constant turmoil and coaching changes galore. Think about how many coaches we have seen in Sacramento since Rick Adelman was let go in 2006. And so Mike Brown was almost like a source of stability here. And I look at today and just go, well, why giving him an extension if you don't believe?
Yeah.
To me, there's going to be adversity that hits organizations. You have to have a belief in what you have that you can make the proper tweaks and get out of it. Like, firing a coach is the easiest thing you can do. It's the easiest tweak. It's
saying, look, we have a problem, so something needs to be tweaked. Something needs to be done. I don't understand why that would be the direction that you would go in this case, especially with everything that we did see Mike Brown bring to this organization over the years. And on top of that, from everything that we've been covering, you don't see a coach that has completely lost the locker room. And if there was adversity, guess what? When you lose a shit ton of games, there's gonna be adversity. There's gonna be players pissed off. Guys are gonna hate the coach. Things are gonna happen. You know, when everyone loves everyone and loves the coach and everything that's going on, when you're winning heals all. And it's so true. What happens when adversity hits and what people do, and people also, you think about, like, throughout the roster and the organization, when it comes to, okay, I don't like this, so let's just make that tweak, or by a snap of finger, let's just make that move. you really can screw with a lot of things for years and years to come. And I just feel like, great, here we are again.
I think we all expected the Kings to be better than where they stand right now.
Sure.
But there is not a Kings fan in the world, a basketball fan in the world, that looked at this Kings roster and went, you know what? After DeMar DeRozan, they're good. Everyone said the same thing. The wing, not exactly the thinnest, not exactly the most depth in that area. Little thin at the wing spot. Little thin when it comes to athleticism and size. None of those issues were addressed. And if you're going to have a team that has Domantas Sabonis, who doesn't have the long, he's not known for being a rim protector. He's not long. And you have DeMar DeRozan in your starting lineup. You better have some length and athleticism and depth around these guys to make up for maybe the weaknesses that those guys have. That wasn't addressed. And that's the reality, is like, this team was flawed going into the season, and their flaws were exposed. And in addition to that, they did maybe some things you didn't expect them to do, like shoot poorly from three. And maybe you thought it would come together a little faster. This is just disappointing in so many ways.
Yeah.
And I said this last night to you after they lost the game, and I heard Mike Brown really upset after the game talking about De'Aaron Fox and that final play, the foul on Ivy. I said, this is the type of shit that a coach loses a job for. And I don't think it's fair. I just think this is a situation where what has Mike said publicly that doesn't make sense to all of us? I mean, he has been more than transparent talking about the team's issues and what they can do better, what players can do better, what he can do better. And obviously there was issues that weren't getting fixed, but this guy knows basketball.
Yep.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, and now
no, I'm with you. When you have a basketball minded coach that ultimately also has gained the respect of the locker room, the coaching staff, people around the organization, like we keep saying, has built a culture in year one, and still has all that, and a little adversity hits when expectations are high in the season. That's when you get this organization, this isn't the Boston Celtics. This isn't an organization that is championship or bust. I'm sorry, because you got to make the playoffs a few years in a row before you could even really think like that. Yes, that's got to be the ultimate goal, but you also have to be rational with your goal in what pieces you have on your roster. And I just look at the situation we are now in, and it's confusing. It doesn't make sense. It causes chaos, especially at this point in the season. What is it going to do? What is it going to change now?
I don't know. I mean, we still don't know who's remaining from the coaching staff at this point. Shams Charania had a tweet just a little bit ago that said Doug Christie is likely to become the interim head coach. I've known Doug for a long time. Long time. Great guy. I'm sure he is eager and anxious to take over and figure out.
Yep.
Doug's mindset's going to be like, I want to keep this job. I want to turn this season around. I would say this to Doug. This is not easy. I mean, if you're able to get this ship turned around and go in the right direction, then you've achieved something that is borderline unbelievable. Doug knows basketball. He's got great relationships with the guys. You know, he's been with Sabonis the last couple of years, all off season long. He's got a sharp mind for the game on both sides. I think he's got the right demeanor, but this is just a tall task. You got to dig yourself out of a massive hole and deal with the ramifications of this, because De'Aaron Fox, that whole drama is still in play here, right? Like,
it's looming.
We just talked about this, right? From the Draymond podcast to Rich Paul being in town. And don't get it twisted. De'Aaron Fox really liked Mike Brown. He liked this coaching staff. So what's this mean for De'Aaron Fox's future in
what's
Sacramento?
Scary too.
There's so many layers to this that we just don't know. So why we just decided to pop on here and just talk it out, because otherwise I'd just be talking to Morgan. Anyway, you got dogs fighting in the background. Why? Everyone's worked up right now.
Yeah, it's a worked up Friday. And you go down the list of this roster. You think about someone like DeMar DeRozan that came here and
Oh my God.
and wanted to win and was like, yeah, I'm here because it's that's the goal. And it's like, welcome to Sacramento, DeMar. Hi. Here's some shitty basketball for a little bit, and then an organization that's going to fire another head coach, because heaven forbid when there's an actual good head coach within this organization that they keep them for too long. Damn. Yeah, you know what sucks? I think when I look at it for all of us here is that it's just a step back. Like, is there just going to be a miracle that happens otherwise? You know what I mean? Like there's no changes to the roster except the head coach is gone. Okay, let's say they win tomorrow and they beat the Lakers. They just like play some inspiring basketball. What's that going to mean for the rest of the season in the Western Conference with the same roster? It's just
the flaws on this team have been the flaws for 2 years.
Are they going to all of a sudden make their shots because Mike's gone? That'd be great. It'd be great.
And look, on the other hand, and we talked about this a little bit last night too, like some of the issues that were happening late in game and some of the problems. I was talking to DeMar DeRozan about this and Keegan today. I'm like, I asked DeMar, I'm like, okay, like, because he had referenced that the players had talked today and it was productive. Okay. Like not like a players, they were just like hanging out and talking and really going over the issues. Mike mentioned it too, because Mike Brown talked to the media today before getting let go. I guess. I don't know. It's so confusing. But, and I was like, well, as players, like, it seems like you guys are very good at talking about these things after games.
In game.
What about in game?
Who's yelling
What
at
about
who?
the players' accountability? And he said that's something they talked about. But like, yeah, I don't know. It's like my whole point to this is like there are things that have happened repeatedly during games, and like we're talking about closeouts, we're talking about how to throw an entry pass at times, we're talking about last night's mistake by De'Aaron late in the game playing off Ivy. Like these are mistakes that veteran teams shouldn't make, and so there's a line where I think one area we saw some fans last night talk about this, like, well, they're tuning out the coach, like, tune out the. These are basic fundamental things we're talking about. We're talking about NBA players. We're not talking about elementary school kids. We're talking about watching the ball. Yeah. We're ball watching. We learn at a really young age. See man, see ball. See man, see ball.
There you go.
And we're talking about that in the NBA. We're teaching those type of things in the NBA. This Kings team is flawed. And they are sitting at 13-18 right now. How's this going to all turn around? I don't think it happens.
Like, I thought things were getting fragile. And obviously, you hear rumblings like, oh, if things don't shape up, it's going to be his job by the end of the week, blah, blah, blah. They say, whatever, okay? But the fact that it really is that fragile after, like, one good year, and when I mean good year, first good year in a very long time, an okay year with 46 wins, not good enough, didn't reach expectations, injuries. Guys missing shots, however else you want to look at it. And then you go into this year and expectations are high when you add someone like DeMar DeRozan. But it didn't mean that the rest of the roster was perfect. And sometimes it's situational too. Like you think about the pieces that you have and what actually works great with what. When you have one of the fastest players in the goddamn league, but then you're having to slow it down because you also have someone that wants to like slow it down and be a half court offense. It's like,
right. So you want to play with pace, but the one of the guys you add, DeMar DeRozan, doesn't exactly play fast all the time.
Yeah.
So like there's things that this organization wanted from this team that
it's a puzzle.
It's hard to achieve based on the personnel that's on the roster. So, look, I hope we sit back and it's like, oh man, this is they needed to make a move like this. This sparked them, but like it's hard for me to say that. I mean, the track record of these moves it's really not high in season coaching changes. It's just not ones that usually propel the team.
Oh, and by the way, and I really enjoyed Mike Brown. I mean, we've been around a lot of coaches over the years, and Mike Brown was enjoyable, respectful, but then also did a good job at explaining things with the media. Wasn't talking at you, talking with you. You know, just all the basics that you would want from a grown man, and he gave you that, and you just don't get that from everyone. So that was nice.
Oh, Mike's a class act, and he knows the game. Sharp basketball mind, open, communicates, transparent, willing to teach media to fans, to his own players, like collaborative, wanted to bring people together. All attributes you would want from your head coach, a strong leader. And for whatever reason, it just wasn't good enough. And it's kind of crazy. We mentioned this last night. His final game as Kings head coach happened to be a game where the Kings blow a 10-point lead with 2:46 to play to drop to 13 and 18. The assistant coach in the building last night was former Kings head coach Luke Walton. Luke Walton was part of a rock bottom when he lost to the Jazz in his final game as Kings head coach, and a fan puked on the floor.
Correct.
And here he is in Sacramento for Mike Brown's final game, which was another low point of the season.
Yeah, very low. Very, very low.
So now you try to figure out, like, well, I just have so many questions, I guess.
Ask away. Can I answer any?
I doubt it, but we could speculate.
Oh, maybe.
Why now?
Question 1. Why now? Why now? No. Why?
Why before making any tweaks to the roster?
Why?
That's kind of my thought. It's like you didn't make any.
Did he hurt someone? Like, did something else happen that we don't know? You know what I mean? Like that's there's my speculation. Because why? Why?
Yeah. And that's what I'm struggling with.
Next question.
I don't know. I'm processing this here. You know, when I was driving back from practice, and after seeing the news, I was just like, I just need to take a little bit here. And now we're on a live stream, navigating this together. We've seen some surprising moves in the past. Michael Malone was let go when the Kings were 11 and 14 in December, and Cousins had been out with viral meningitis. And, you see Malone go on. He's been in with Denver for a long time now, won a championship. Great man, great leader, great coach. And so when you have a coach like Mike Brown, who has his flaws, everyone will criticize a coach's rotation, how he handles things. Oh, he's stubborn about this. I don't know. I just remember years ago when Alvin Gentry took over for Luke Walton, and people expected all these drastic changes, and Alvin's just like, there's only so much you could change right now late in the year.
He's trying to get some wins.
Doug Christie taking over this group. How does he get everyone together? How does he get everyone on the same page? How does he get this group focused? Man. It just, again, when you make a coaching change at this time, 31 games into a season, you feel like you're throwing a Hail Mary if you think it's going to fix your season.
Deuce was, like, when the news first broke, because he had just talked at practice in the media scrum to Mike Brown 20 minutes later, Sham's tweet comes out, and then he's like, hey, emergency pod, blah, blah. But it's interesting because we were also contemplating waiting because we wanted to hear more and more things come out. All right, you got Doug Christie is going to be the interim. Cool. And now still just waiting for more answers that we don't have. And I was like, we could wait all night. We could wait through the morning, and you still might not get these answers. So instead, we're on here searching for the answers with all of you. A little emotional because for all of you that have either watched the Kings over the years, or maybe you're just an NBA fan and you've seen the Kings' misery over the years, you can understand how difficult this could be after that glimmer of hope, the little bit of magic that we saw in the Beam Team year is just now all gone. It's just, I mean, it's gone. And something else could happen, but I think other big changes are going to happen. Who knows what De'Aaron wants to do now? Who knows? Who knows?
Yeah, this stretch is going to be fascinating because this cannot just be the final thing, right? Like, man, it's just I feel for fans tonight. I feel for fans because, like you said, it was just a small taste of success. And in Sacramento, with all the losing that Kings fans have seen over the years, 10 winning seasons in 39 years. Yeah, Kings fans will appreciate a first round series.
Hell yeah.
Doesn't mean they don't want more. They'll appreciate the opportunity to beat the Warriors in a play-in. They just want that chance. They just want that opportunity. I'm watching the game last night, right before the game. It's the Pistons in town. Kings Pistons, not a hot ticket by any means. Kings had lost 4 in a row going into the game. And that place had energy unlike any building in the league for a team that is losing. This fan base has been through hell and back, from coaching changes galore to bad teams to relocation drama, almost losing this team. So these fans are built to go through tough times,
Sure,
but it doesn't make it any easier. All Kings fans want is a team that's going to play hard, be competitive, and have some sustained success. And maybe just a couple of years where you don't have to navigate talking about coaching changes or trades or firings. It's frustrating. It's tough. I've seen the good times. You've been a part of the good times in the early 2000s watching this team. It's why
Magic.
I fell in love with basketball at a level that I never knew I could fall in love with something, okay? It's why I wanted to be in this business. But days like this, I just go, man, this is tough. It's really, really tough. Mike Brown is a great leader. He's a really good head coach. He should still be coaching this team.
Yeah.
And
I just believe in so much more patience when it comes to sports, especially when you do hit adversity, because not only can you grow as an organization, but as a coach and a coaching staff, and even within your roster and your players. The only way you wouldn't grow with your players is if you did lose everybody and it was like, oh, well, nobody's listening to anyway, or you just get along with everyone as a friend, but you're not a basketball mind. Mike Brown, I thought, started doing a good job of finding that balance, although I'm sure to many he threw too many practices and they were running all this shit, just to make them better basketball players. You know how many guys like came out of there and were like, hey, he made me a better basketball player. Terrence Davis, talked about that. I think Trey Lyles had something to say about that after the Beam year. Like Malik Monk, you think about his decision and coming back to the Sacramento Kings and being with De'Aaron Fox and Mike Brown and the opportunities that he has been given. And now where are those opportunities going to go? And we can still look at this roster and go around the league and go, wow, they don't really match up when it comes to size, to length, to you think about how this league is living or dying by the three. Oh my God, the ratings are going down because the three. Those teams are winning. Those teams that are actually knocking down their three are winning.
well, the other question I have is, okay, what should this group be? If they have fallen below expectations after seeing what we've seen, I'm not talking about before the season, I'm talking about right now, where should this team be?
Like win-wise, or just
like honestly, but based on what we've seen, let's just say because they're 3-11 in games decided by 5 points or fewer, and you go, well, they should be 5-6. Okay? Like, I mean, is anyone going to sit here and act like they should be way better? Like that should be reverse? That would be unfair.
Yeah, like why are we losing our shit over this right now? I mean, I don't know if anyone remembers this. We had a Kings season here where there was 2 9-game losing streaks, and that wasn't that long ago. And we were all here talking about it after every single game. We're not there. We're not even there. It's confusing. It's sad. it's a lot of different emotions, but I think I really feel for so many people today in Sacramento.
Let's hear what Jordy Fernandez had to say, the former Kings associate head coach for Mike Brown, who's now the head coach of the Brooklyn Nets. He talked about the firing today before the Nets game against San Antonio. Here's what he had to say before the game.
Just very good at what he does. I would not be here without him. Obviously, to me, is really sad news, and I don't like it. It's part of the business. Things can go one way, where if you think about it, a year and a half ago, he's coach of the year. And now this situation happened. So I wasn't there in the last, few weeks, months. But Mike means a lot to me. Mike is, like I said, one of the best. And seeing this is something that, as we can all say, part of the business, but me personally, I don't like.
So there's Jordy Fernandez saying he doesn't like it. We might be having some tech issues for a second. I'm trying to figure out what's going on. Test says 1 2 1 2. Sorry about that. I don't know why the stream froze. It did. If you're in the chat, let us know that we're still live for a second. No idea what happened.
Hey, let us know that we're still around. Hey.
Shams was on ESPN talking about the deal too. Let's hear what his report said.
Yeah, who broke the story on Jones just now. I mean, this felt a little bit shocking, Shams. What ultimately led to them deciding to move on from Mike Brown?
Let me just set the scene for you. Mike Brown on his way, other players, coaches on their way to the team plane in Sacramento. They were flying to Los Angeles for a game there this weekend against the Lakers. And that's when Mike Brown got the word that he was being fired. And then all the players, coaches, still on the plane waiting for the word on who the interim head coach will be. And it's going to be Doug Christie. He played 5 of his 15 NBA seasons in Sacramento. He's been assistant there since 2021-22, and now he becomes the interim head coach. 5 straight losses, 12 of the last 17 games lost by the Sacramento Kings. The organization felt like they just had thoroughly underperformed this season. This is a year that started off with grand expectations with De'Aaron Fox, Domantas Sabonis. You bring in DeMar DeRozan as a marquee free agent signing. This is not the season that they expected. And Mike Brown, you think about his tenure, 2023 Coach of the Year. He had back-to-back winning seasons as head coach, 107-88 record as head coach. He just signed a 3-year extension in June, and now 6 months later, just another Sacramento Kings coach fired.
I was going to say, I mean, it goes to show that it's a what have you done for me lately league. You mentioned that he was just Coach of the Year a cup of coffee ago, but Sacramento's not known for their long history of playoff success. And he led them to their first playoff appearance in 17 years. It's a bit shocking, but here we go. Another developing story.
Thanks, Al. I know. Shocking indeed. And you cover every goddamn sport there is, and you still know all those details. It's like, yeah, everyone knows that as the identity of the Sacramento Kings. Another head coach. Oh, and they just made the playoffs. And it's like, yeah.
And I mean, I do struggle with that. Like, I'm aware that this team is underachieved based on the talent that they have. To be fair, they are 8th in offensive rating, which is an improvement from last year. Okay. 16th in defensive rating. They are 14th on the season last year. Now, I think the end result is who cares about ratings? It's about the bottom line, and it's the win-loss column, 13 and 18. Some of those close games, unable to navigate those things. But I just don't look at it as a situation where I think this is more on the players, too. You know, I mean, I go players and personnel. We talk about the weaknesses, but this one of my frustrations watching this team, and this is just take a step back. If you've played in competitive sports, or if you just have pride in what you do in your profession, if you have a competitive bone in your body, whether that's playing basketball, pickup basketball at the YMCA, or if that's playing Monopoly Go with your friends.
Yeah.
You have to, there's some pride, right?
Hell
or in your job.
This
Kings team is not a young team. This Kings team is a veteran team. They've got a couple of young guys, but Fox has been in the league a long time. Sabonis has been in the league a long time. Malik Monk has been in the league a long time. DeMar DeRozan been in the league a long time. And some of the mistakes that are made are not mistakes that veteran teams are supposed to make. And when these things fall apart in a game, to me, a coach can only do so much. A coach can call a timeout and say, hey, lock into these details. For example, last night in the timeout, when the Kings are up 3 in a ball game with 10 seconds to play, the message was simple.
Hug your players.
Hug your players. Don't give up a 3.
Yep.
If we give up a 2, we can live with a 2. Why? Because we're up 3. Execute. The players have to execute. The players have to be locked in. And so for whatever reason, in this one example, De'Aaron Fox sagging off Jaden Ivey. The ball goes to him. He's got to close out. Pump fake, fouls him, and 1 on a 3-pointer. You lose the game, and Mike Brown loses his job. The point is, so many times this year, we've seen these teams go on massive runs against Sacramento, or the pace isn't good enough, or there's defensive breakdowns. There's an offensive rebound allowed, a missed box out, a missed closeout, a turnover. Coach only has so many timeouts. You know what you have to do? I'm sorry. If Morgan is continuously messing up something on a broadcast, in the commercial break, I'm gonna say lock in. Or if she's upset because she fumbled a line,
Oh my God, I hate
during
this.
a post game thing,
Get over it.
I'm gonna tell her like it's a turnover.
Next
Let's
play.
play. Let's play.
That's what he says.
And if I'm messing up
kidding.
something, it's gonna be the same thing. It's fine that you love each other. It's fine that everyone gets along on this team, but call guys out on their shit and fix it. Do you have pride in what you do on the floor? If I've got pride and I'm getting beat, if my teammates get beat defensively, he's gonna hear it, and I'm gonna tell him, wake up! We gotta win. You gotta be engaged, and that type of shit is not happening. And here we do. It's Mr. Scapegoat Mike Brown.
Just because even someone like me, I would prefer his language and his tone to be different and be like, hey, you got the next step. Like, it's okay. Just because I want that coaching from Deuce doesn't mean I'm going to get that coaching from Deuce. And that coaching that I am getting from Deuce is still going to make me a better broadcaster. And my point to that being is that is even me taking pride in what I do. Just because I want to be talked to differently at times or managed differently at times from other people, you're not always going to get your way, and you have to find a way to work with different personalities. You can still communicate the way that you like to communicate, but you're also going to be communicated with the way, or coach the way that they like to coach and do things as well. So you just find a balance, because everything isn't going to be perfect for you. And I think you're exactly right when you look at like the fire and the competitive nature of this team. They do so well playing together at times. And in the beginning of the season, they lost so many games, but they were in it. And they even said, they're like, hey, you know what? At least we're in some of these losses, but now we have to find a way to get a win. They never found a way to get the dub. They never found a way to become a better team and be a good team and finish off a game the right way. And that's mostly because they don't have a killer on the team. They don't have someone who's just going to go at someone, who's going to throw someone to the ground, get pissed off, be the aggressor. And look, some of those guys, Draymond ripping down two people, WWE bullshit, things that he does can sometimes completely take your team out of a game, right? Like, there's going to be those moments. You have to also have the balance of that person, the person that's going to be tough, get in your face. And Kevin Durant, we saw it on Nurk was that Nurk that he was just like getting on, like, bro, you can't do this. You got to do this. Just being hard on him. You got to make sure you have teammates that are going to give you tough love as well, because the coach can only give you so much of a strategy for you to execute. My God.
Do you want to be good or not? Do you want to be great? Wake up. Wake up. Because we have acknowledged the Kings' flaws tonight or today. Even with that said, we all acknowledge this team should be better. Got to look in the mirror. What can you do better? If I'm one of the guys on the team, what does my approach have to be? Not only with how I go about my business on the court and how I play, but how I'm holding others accountable. If Malik Monk is throwing a bad pass, you can give him some love too and encourage him too. Hey, keep playing. Also, don't be afraid to call it out. Like, these are just things that have to happen. Tough love's all about it. Everyone, if you're a family, it's not going to be all rosy all the time.
And then for people too that want to go like, I know I'm going to hear from people after this that around the NBA that are like, that's just not how you do things in the NBA. That's not how you treat guys in the NBA. That's not how you talk to guys in the NBA. I don't give a shit. There's no LeBron James on this team. There's no Steph Curry on this goddamn team. You coach up the best player and the worst player the same, however you need to talk to them. And Mike Brown was even very big on acting like De'Aaron, Domas, DeMar, pretty much Keegan can do whatever they want. Long leash. Make mistakes, do what you need to do. Every other guy better not make mistakes. My standards are here. Do not make those mistakes. And I was telling Deuce I was getting to a point where I'm like, maybe he's not yelling at those guys enough. And then we have like the presser last night, the post-game presser, where he's just going hard on De'Aaron about that final play. And I thought his language and everything he said was dead on. It was talking basketball. It was criticizing what didn't happen within a defensive basketball play. And we get people texting going, oh my God, like this is so harsh. And I'm like, is everyone soft as fuck? Like what is this? What, like no one can take tough love anymore? I don't know. And again, it's not LeBron James on this team. That's all I'm saying.
Man. The poll question I put up for the live chat, was this the right move? Yes or no? 75% of the people who voted, nearly 1,500 votes, say no.
Okay.
That's what the people say.
The people.
The people say. Yeah. And now it's like,
it's like, what?
I don't know, man.
I know.
It's just.
Should we do a Kings-Lakers preview now? Kings-Lakers tomorrow.
Yeah. Is
Like-
Sabonis still sick? I don't know.
Oh,
like,
yeah. All that. I was joking, but
yeah. It's look, you can't, if you're a player inside the locker room, you can't control whether a mover is not made or not. And I'm sure De'Aaron Fox, as he thinks about his future, as we've talked about before, is thinking about, man, I wanted wing help. We didn't get wing help. Okay. A wing is not coming through that door tomorrow. What are you going to do? What's your response going to be? That's what I'm interested in seeing. Is what is this team's response going to be? Or are they not going to come together? You heard the Shams report, and this is where I go back to too, thinking about this, is like, I'm just confused as to why Mike Brown coached practice today. Why did he talk to the media for 16 minutes today? I mean, if you were getting to the point where like you thought you were going to let him go, maybe just do it like last night or wake up this morning early and go, all right, let's do it. It just seems a little jarring for a group that's about to board a plane to LA to find out this move. And like, they're on the plane thinking about like, who's the interim coach? Who's staying? You know, Mike Brown has his staff. It doesn't mean, is Jay Triano staying on? Is Luke Laux hanging around? Like, these guys may be under contract, but you never know. I remember when Michael Malone got let go in Sacramento, Chris Gent, one of his assistant coaches, dipped. You know, he didn't hang around. So this is a jarring thing for a team to be going through, especially if they did have a practice in which, like, all the guys, DeMar, Keegan, Mike talked about today, like, they had a very good communication about this.
yeah.
And they felt like the response was going to be there. They're ready to play a game tomorrow. And then this happens, you know, it's really unfortunate. And now this group has to figure out how to come together, because even if we can sit here and be down about, all right, this doesn't feel good, not happy about this change, as a player, you got to figure out how to get this bit back on track. Because what was said today by the Kings was, Mike Brown was the problem. We are underachieving. You guys are capable of more, and we know it, and we believe in it.
Amen.
You have to go do it now.
It was his fault. So do what you need to do. All right, let's see it. Tomorrow against the Lakers
Yeah.
that you just lost to twice last week.
And now you start going long term, and I know we're... What, Bojack? Bojack, relax. We start thinking about long term and like, okay, you know, there's going to have to be a coaching search probably in the offseason. What's that going to look like? I did talk to one coaching agent who told me that the Kings won't have an issue filling the job. because Vivek just handed Mike Brown $30 million for 6 months. That's how they looked at
Yeah.
it. More, go ahead. I know you gotta
Yeah.
hop out for a second. But like that's what it was like, yeah, I know what you're saying. Like, because in my head, I'm like, God, what coach is going to want this gig? But they're like, look, if a coach is going to get fired 6 months into an extension, a coach is going to take that job. So, man. I'm going to get some questions too. I think Sean Cunningham's going to hop on with us in a few too as we try to process all of this stuff. Someone in the chat, JB says, did Mike Brown get fired for calling out Fox in an interview? I mean, I don't think so. You know, I don't think De'Aaron has a problem with what Mike Brown said last night. I think Mike Brown and Fox had a good relationship. I'm sure we're going to learn a lot in the coming days. You know, I'm sure there's more to it. We're sitting here just like you trying to figure it all out.
Yeah. Just processing. I think the thing that, the biggest thing, the theme, you know, because so many people be like, oh, you're that sad or really sucks that bad or whatever. And it's like, you know what sucks? It sucks when it comes to change and the timing. That's what sucks, because this decision, it would still have sucked if they had made it in the off season. But you just have more confidence in going into a season like, okay, well, then this is the identity of what it's going to be. This is where they want to go. And now you're just however many games in. And it's like, okay, great. We'll see. We'll see what this change actually does, because you make change to have solutions, unless you're just making this change because you're pissed off. Like I don't get it. I don't get it. I don't get it. And we're gonna have so much fun. We get to talk about this on NBC Sports California tomorrow, starting at 6:30. See you guys there.
If you have not done it yet, by the way, hit the thumbs up and subscribe. All it does is help our channel grow, and we appreciate basketball fans around the world for hanging out with us. In the chat, what are your thoughts about rebuilding the team, and who do you keep? Yeah, I think you have to ask some serious questions about what the future looks like. And I think the De'Aaron Fox angle is one I think everyone's going to be watching from here on out. You know, what's his reaction to this news? Remember last week, he's on Draymond's podcast. That was followed up by his agent, Rich Paul, meeting with the Kings front office. And then the Kings end up losing more games in a row, which leads to the head coach that Fox liked being let go. What does that mean for De'Aaron Fox? And if you're moving De'Aaron Fox, let's just be honest about it. You're not getting the best player back in a deal. You may get parts that are intriguing, some young talent, some picks. You're not getting the best player back. You're moving the best player. So are you necessarily getting better after moving him immediately? Probably not. So there's some serious questions that lie ahead. I think there are a lot of unanswered things. But, you know, with the Kings being 13-18, I mentioned this last night, to match last season's win total of 46 games, which was good enough to be a play-in team, you'd have to go, 33-18. 33-18.
Yeah. Yeah, that's really hard to do. It's really hard to do too, especially this season, just how it even started just on the basketball floor was just so clunky and weird. And then when you had those, like, the glimmer of hope and then never being able to find consistency, it was tough. Going back to, like, roster construction and just, like, what isn't working, what is working. And now you're just in a whole different place where, okay, are you blowing things up? What are you trying to work around? What's the goal? Just want to know a goal.
What I'm curious about too is kind of what it looks like going forward. Like Doug Christie as the interim coach, are we going to see a starting lineup change? Which, by the way, Mike Brown was asked about that today, and he's like, yeah, I'm thinking about everything.
Pass that along.
What's the rotation look like?
Mhm.
Are we going to see a more steady group together?
Yeah.
Is this going to be Doug coming up with a game plan, or is it going to be more analytics focused from the front office? You know, those to me are all the questions that I'm fascinated by going forward.
Yeah. Especially when Doug, you think about his time in Sacramento as a player so long ago, but you think about the style of play and the togetherness and playing like a team. And what's cool is that you do have a roster right now that do appreciate each other and can understand each other. But are you willing to not be so predictable at times in the end of games when it's like, all right, DeMar, go time, Mr. Clutch DeMar, Mr. Clutch De'Aaron? Because like I'm all for that when you have like two of the most clutch players within the league on your team. But what got you to the point of playing good basketball, or what got you to the point of like seeing success at the end of a game? And if it's good basketball, continue that good basketball. Utilize everyone. You know, we keep saying like there is, although we have certain players on this team, there is no Kevin Durant on this team where it's like, if he's not taking the shot, then we're all going to complain on.
You're supposed to just play what got you there.
That's what I'm saying.
It's one thing if you're trying to get a game-winning shot, you're like, I want Fox to be the one option. But dude, too many times late in these games, it's like, all right, it's going to be Fox or DeMar, and everyone else just kind of be ready for whatever. That's not an easy style to play all the time. And that goes to the other question. Was that more about coaching, or was that the players who were like, playing this free-flowing thing where Fox said, all right, my decision here is I'm going to try to take this shot. You know what I mean? And so those are other questions that have to be asked. Like, I understand De'Aaron Fox and DeMar DeRozan have proven to be closers in this game, but you also have to just play the right way. You know, and I saw all the times last year with Sacramento where it's like, man, like, you're up, but this game ain't over. In today's game, a 10-point lead should be safe with 3 to play, but that doesn't always mean it's safe. So, like, that's going to be interesting to see what that looks like going forward. I mean, I just don't know how much you can really change. There's not a ton of practice time in an NBA season. Like, how can the Kings dramatically shift the style of play? Last night, was there anything wrong with how they played offense through 3.5 quarters?
No.
They missed some shots in the third quarter, right? But were they not getting good looks? Last night, the ball was popping. It was moving around.
That's it. And then you get, I mean, Mike Brown said this even last night, and I completely agreed when he was like, you know, you're up how many with 3 minutes left in the game, and you're rolling the ball up to just continue into a set defense. And that's not the type of basketball that got you there. If you don't have to do that, that's when it's like, okay, be clutch, go downhill. Like, don't roll it up. Let's go. Push, continue. Because sometimes not just trying to run out the clock. It's about still playing the best basketball, getting the best shot that you can get, and also believing in that you're going to do the right things on the defensive end.
In the chat, Spiral says a drill sergeant will make players all quit. Look, man, I think it goes back to what Morgan just said. There's accountability in life. Like, if you're doing the wrong things in life, you're not just going to be, hey, man, it's okay. Keep trying out there. Some of that. And it depends on the player, right? You're not going to approach every player the same way. Some guys take coaching differently. It's not necessarily an easy job. But I'm sorry. Like, yeah, if we're not doing the simple things that we have talked about so many times after every single game, like, man, they really didn't close out well. Oh, man, they allowed that three-pointer open. Or, oh, man, they were really ball-watching Jokic when you're not supposed to, and they got backdoored 17 times in that fourth quarter. There's accountability for that. And accountability could be maybe getting called out by the coaches, maybe losing playing time. I think to your point, though, is like some of the guys who maybe had longer leashes, the stars on the team, right? Fox and Spose, when they make mistakes, they're not necessarily getting pulled. The people who get pulled are the bench guys. It's Keon, it's Keegan, it's others that if they make one mistake, it's like, sit down.
And makes sense. Like, you're not gonna pull some of those guys with the longer leash. You know who used to get pulled all the time was Malik Monk. And you know how shitty it was at times seeing this man play under 30 minutes a game coming off the bench. But what you did also see in his game the last couple of years was so much growth as an individual basketball player. He went from chaotic as shit to controlled chaos, playing with this energy and becoming this phenomenal playmaker, just becoming such a mature basketball player. And that was under Mike Brown. And I do want to say, because of the discipline that was there, was absolutely part of it. I understand it's all about finding that balance. All of us here in this chat and here on this podcast, we're not NBA coaches. You know, like, everyone's going to have a different style to their approach. But at the same time, like, I think finding a way to treat everyone equally when it comes to certain discipline, to certain mistakes, it's hard to do.
We are live talking about the Kings letting go of Mike Brown, who coached 2 years with the Sacramento, 2+ years with the Sacramento Kings, signing an extension over the offseason that added 2 additional years to his deal. So he's getting paid out around $30 million.
And before the Christmas break, he was saying that his family was in town for like 2 whole weeks. So his family's still there.
Well, that's good.
It is good. No, I mean, if you're going to be at
he's going to be fine.
That's what I'm
he's
saying.
He's going to be fine. Like, but, you know, I appreciate how much pride Mike took into the community. He bought in. You saw him all the time at different sporting events, college events, high school games. And I'll forever appreciate the job he did, and to get the Kings back to the playoffs is something that no other coach could do since 2006. And that year, that beam team's dead.
And Shut Up and Light the Beam is dead.
Okay.
Because his name is in it.
Wow.
And unless you're going to have another coach with just like 2-syllable name, it's just not going to work.
No. Yeah. That season was a lot of fun. And it seems like that was like 8 years ago.
Should we go to the memory jar now? Relive the past. Yeah, it sucks. That was fun while it lasted.
Dominic in the chat says, I think that the Mike Brown firing was the right move, but the way they went about it was so bad. So many other problems on the team right now. Yeah, you try to rack your brain with interim coaches that help turn things around. It's a tough one. And you can only point to so many. David Blatt lost his job with the Cavs. Ty Lue took over. Ty Lue's one of the best coaches in the league, talented group. You know, Mazzulla took over for Ime Udoka after all that Celtics drama right before camp. And look, you know, they've won a championship. It's also a very talented team.
They had a roster in place to see a lot of success, shall we say. Uh-huh. And now I also think about it for Doug. I hope Doug gets to have all the freedom in the world with where he wants to go as interim coach, you know, because he's a passionate guy when it comes to basketball, still a student of the game. I just want the best. For him.
Yeah, I mean, I feel for. Look, I'm sure if this is a bittersweet day for Doug, it's what he's about to do is not going to be easy. But I know his approach. I know his love for the game, his ability to talk and connect with players. He gets the game. He was a high IQ guy on both ends of the floor during his playing days. It doesn't make it easy. It just doesn't. I mean, my goodness, you're digging yourself out of a fat hole right now, and you don't have a lot of time to prepare. I mean, you are diving into this now. I mean, if you're finding out about this, like boarding a plane to LA, I mean, you're trying to rally the troops. You're trying to connect with whoever is left on the coaching staff, get everyone together, and you're trying to process what just transpired, right? You're still trying to get over a loss that happened last night. This league moves on fast, man. And you have to try your best to kind of navigate those waters, bring people together, and find a way to get this going in the right direction.
Really hope Sam Amick is on the phone with everyone, feet on the ground, figuring things out.
I was just texting with Sam Amick.
Were you?
And he's at his son's wrestling tournament right now.
Sam, we don't have time to be a dad. Oh my God.
You know what? Sam's done such a good job of having more balance in his life.
I know.
So I really.
But Sam.
We need the scoop. Who cares about your relationship with your son? You need to find out what really happened in Sacramento.
He sounds like a great wrestler, but Sam. It's okay.
I think we're gonna actually catch up with Sean Cunningham in a few minutes too.
Oh, okay.
Just to get his perspective. He was at practice with me today, and I almost ran back in to see what he thought, because I mean I was literally like 45 feet away.
I could picture you seeing your phone and just actually turning around and running back
I just remember looking. I told Morgan this morning, I went, I am so mentally prepared for anything with this team because we've seen so much over the years, right? Like I'll never forget how I felt inside when I looked at my phone and saw that Tyrese Halliburton had been traded to Indiana. And I was just like, oh my goodness. So when it came up on my phone today, I was just like, okay, I did the thing where you try to bargain. I went through the 7 stages of grief in about 7 seconds, and I got the bargaining pretty fast, which was like, oh, but like, is this a real tweet? And so like, dude, it's on your alerts. Like, what are you saying? Okay. And then I'm like, okay, let me just look at it and be like, okay, it's verified, but is it real? Did this really happen? That's where I was.
Because people make those freaking graphics all the time. All the time. Some are funny, some are not. This one, not so much. And it's real.
Let's get to some more comments. Forrest Lee's a member. 29 straight months says Deuce and Mo is the only constant Kings fans have. I appreciate that. We're all in this together. Oscar says, will not be surprised if Mike Brown goes back to Golden State. Oh, yeah, they have a pretty loaded bench, but, I also thought about San Antonio as a possibility, to be honest.
Ooh.
Marcus, not happy about the moves. This is probably the most deserving fire job ever. Appreciate Mitch as well and Will for becoming a member as well. If you've not done it yet, hit the thumbs up and subscribe as we try to figure out. And we're just live. We're waiting if there's anything developing with this. And, of course, we'll have it covered. If anything more comes out too with clips, and we'll go live again if we have to. But in the meantime, we're just hanging out, trying to figure out what is happening. Oh, man.
Tough times.
So many fun moments. So many. And who will ever forget the
turn the fucking death zone. Turn the fucking death zone.
Oh.
Let's go. Ah!
Love that energy. When he brought up the laptop after
The Milwaukee
the
game, right?
Milwaukee game.
This is a foul. I've been watching basketball for so many years. Oh.
Tonight, this year, talking about possession. After possession. After possession. After possession. Man.
Oh, the memories. I will remember you. With the montage of all his moments. No?
There were some fun ones,
I
man.
know.
In the chat, dude, I remember in the early days, in the real dark times, just watching y'all talk people off the ledge. Carlos from Mexico City and that one guy who kept calling Deuce sir. That's funny.
That is hilarious.
Oh, man.
Like, I know I don't want to speculate.
Christopher says, sidebar, do you guys think the season so far is more on Kevin and Keegan? Love those guys, but the 3-point breaks really just killed the momentum. No, Mike seems to be getting the scapegoat treatment here. I mean, I've done this thing where I start going, okay, man, if Fox could just be better in these situations, man, if, DeMar, the fit hasn't been great all the time, but man, Keegan's missing threes, heard of this. And then I have to stop myself because I go, Keegan is the only wing on the roster.
Mm-hmm.
He's playing through being banged up. We have seen that, right? Like he got hurt in that Houston game, missed some games, fighting through it, trying his best to go out there, defend, rebound, and he's got to score a little bit too. He's the only wing. Everything that goes back to me, I just go back to, man, the weaknesses with length and size and athleticism weren't addressed. And so the margin for error is slim, right?
For everyone.
You can't be making defensive mistakes. Margin of error is slim. You can't be missing threes. Margin for error is slim. That's the biggest thing with this group, is like, if you're not just dialed in perfect, you run into issues like this, and this is why they're 13 and 18. Andrew says, love you guys. Scary times for the Kings. What's next? Either Fox has the keys or what's going on? What's happening? I'm scared of the unknown. The unknown could be very scary.
Very scary. Very scary.
And I don't know. I mean, you just have to buckle up. I wish I had the answers for you,
Well,
I wouldn't have made this prediction before the season. I'll tell you that. And that's what's crazy about how sports works. Imagine after the Kings won 48 games, Mike Brown won Coach of the Year, Monty McNair won Executive of the Year. Big, hey, dude, like, enjoy this because by year 3 in December, Mike's out. We'd be like, okay, dude.
How many times during the playoff season and last season did we say, just enjoy every win, though?
Yeah.
Enjoy every win. Celebrate every win. Enjoy every moment. Because now, sure, Deuce and I will be on after every single Kings game. We could be seeing a 9-game losing streak. We could also be seeing some good basketball being played.
Yeah.
Some maybe guys feel more inspired and Doug brings something different. You never know. You just don't know at this point where you're going to get.
Seth donates $5 saying, appreciate you both, not just for doing what you do very well, but also for being yourselves while you do it. Thank you. Appreciate that. Also, great hat, Morgan. Bring back Royale. Yeah, someone suggested this is the curse of Royale. Ron said, I blame Royale. Ever since his debut, it's been bad. Others are saying, like, bring him back. I don't know.
Yeah.
Mitch donated saying, being stubborn about Monk and the weird yo-yo rotations really hurt, but this is a Monty issue. 5 drafts have only netted us Keegan Murray. And yeah, I think when you look at Mike Brown this year, and even going back to last year, there was an inability to find any consistent rotation. And he was searching a lot. Where year 1, it felt like you kind of knew who was involved, right? You had your 5 starters. Malik was going to play. TD was going to play. There's going to be all these, man. Sorry. Just getting a text. Boom, 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 boom. There was more consistency. Where last year, how many times were like, man, they just cannot find a rotation. Who's in? Who's out? Sasha. He's not really playing. Same thing with this year. Outside of Malik coming off the bench at one point, or Herter, or Trey, you really didn't know who was going to play on a given night, and I think that was hard for some of the guys.
Yeah, I mean that can be difficult, but at the same time, you look at the roster and it never felt like anything was good enough for Mike Brown to feel confident enough to go in a certain direction. But I guess that would be like one of my main criticisms is like when I saw Doug McDermott go out there at times, I'm like, why? And no offense to Doug, but there was just moments it didn't make sense. Oh, that's who you were texting?
Yeah, let me.
What's going on, guys?
All right, I'm bringing on our guy. I'm going to get it all organized here. This is so zoomed in, and this is my fault.
Hold on, Mike.
We're checking in with one of our buddies, one of my favorite guys, the one and only Mike Bibby, joining us.
Mike,
hold on, let me get it broader light.
Yeah, do your thing.
I need to fix our thing
Yeah,
too, huh? What's going on?
Happening?
I got it.
There you go. Thank God.
Blame our producer.
So funny. I saw that you were texting a Mike, and I was like,
who is
you're
Mike?
like, not Mike Brown. Like, who are you texting?
Well,
Mike Bibby. Of
Mike
course.
Bibby's been, obviously playing the league for a long ass time, and I'm just hold on, Mike. I'm just trying to fix our screen because we're all messed up over here on our end. Let me zoom in.
Yeah.
This is this is so funny.
And then when you can crop yourself.
I know.
Why am I even talking?
I'm a mess
to you?
right now. And
Mike, I was going to ask you though, do you want to do pregame live tomorrow instead of me?
I mean, I'm in Phoenix.
I'm kidding. I'm kidding.
You know me, I love to be out there. So
Aww.
Well, we miss you, dude.
It's up to them.
Let me get one little adjustment, man.
One more tweak. It's just oh yeah.
Okay.
Hell yeah.
All right, we're catching up with Mike Bibby. Obviously, you play in the league for a long time. You've seen coaching changes before. I guess first things first, what was your reaction to this news that the Kings are letting go of Mike Brown after he's only the second winning coach in Kings history next to your old guy, Rick Adelman?
I mean, my first reaction, something had to be done. That's when I'm looking back. The coach is always the first person to go. So, it's unfortunate. He's had a good run with the teams he's been with. I'm not saying he's not a good coach or anything. I just maybe wasn't working for this Kings team. Maybe he lost the locker room or something's going on. But I wasn't in the locker room, so I really can't speak on what's going on. But something had to be done because the team that you have shouldn't have this record. The players play the game, obviously, but the coaches kind of are the backbone. They kind of give the guys confidence. They do all this stuff for these guys, but the team does go out there and play it. But like I said, the coach is always the one to feel the wrath first.
And you think about something being done right now in December, though. Weird timing. It feels like. And can there actually be anything good that comes from that happening in December at this point of a season?
I think it's something had to be done. Whether you look at it, if it's a player trade or the coach being gone, something had to be done before the season really got lost. There's still a lot of games left. They have a lot of games to play. They could still turn this thing around, I think. I still have high hopes for them. Just to have a different look. Doug will be in there. They got another player's perspective of going in there. I think Doug will kind of, I don't really know Doug's coaching style or anything, but I think they respect Doug. A lot of these players respect former players, and when they go out there and we've seen it firsthand, kind of what they do, what they're trying to do. So our best interest is to help them. I think that's Doug's personality. Doug's going to help them and try to make them the best they can.
Mike, one thing we've been talking about is it feels like watching this Kings team. You talk about the talent. The talent is obviously there, but one thing that has stood out to me is it doesn't seem like the players are holding each other accountable. The coaches can only do so much. They're going to coach you, but on the court, you have to hold each other accountable. Well, you are on some really good teams in the NBA. How important is it to have someone on the team that is vocal, that is going to hold others accountable?
That's what makes teams so good. That's what made us so good when we were in Sacramento, because I was on different teams where people weren't held accountable, and you could just tell, you could see it on the court. You'll have different groups going here and there, people going against each other. So being in Sacramento with having Chris Webber, Hall of Fame player and our best player at the time, he held himself accountable. So that kind of trickled down to everybody else, and we respected that. And that's the first time that I've seen that. I was in Vancouver for 3 years, and it was just we're losing. Whoever's fault it is whoever's fault. Maybe it's the coach's fault. Maybe it's our style of play. You could get away with that when you're losing. But good teams hold themselves accountable. And you could tell by just looking around at some of the teams that hold each other accountable. Like you could tell probably the Thunder hold each other accountable, the Celtics. The good teams hold themselves accountable. So, I mean, that has to go with DeMar, Domas, and Fox, and Monk as well too. But as far as those four, somebody has to come out and get in somebody's face. Hey, this is what we got to do. It was your fault, or hold your hand up sometimes. And say, you know what? I messed up. I'm gonna make up for it on this next time.
So if let's say that they don't have that person, and because it hasn't been happening, do you think the next step is during this time to also make some changes on this roster? Like, I know we say like something needed to happen, but don't probably more needs to happen?
I think more needs to happen. I think something needs to happen. I can't put my finger on what it is. I mean, ever since moving Monk to the starting lineup, like I said, like I've always had a problem with that, just because of Monk's just what he brings off the bench and his firepower off the bench. You need that. And now once they bring him in, there's really nothing with a lot of firepower coming off the bench. So you're looking for all your scoring now coming from your starters. And so I think something had to be made. I mean, like I said, it's not the coach that's playing the games. So we're gonna see coming up in these next few games if it was Mike Brown, or if now they might be playing harder. Now, I mean, you get in a situation to where I've been on teams where they didn't really care about the coach. And then like if the coach lost the locker room, and people stop playing for you then. And then so hopefully this will bring back some energy and bring back the ties. You know what? Let's go get it for ourselves. Let's go get it for Doug, and see if it goes from there. See where it goes from there.
What's the biggest challenge from a player's perspective when there is like an in-season coaching change and you have an interim guy taking over?
Because I mean, the interim guy he'll be like a guy trying to fit in. So he's going to be very, not to say casual, but looking to help you guys. You know what I mean? Like in Doug's situation, I don't know what spot he was on the bench, but I think Doug will come in and do a great job as far as giving these guys confidence and not getting down on them, and maybe hold himself accountable. Doug was on that team with us too, where, he would hold his hand up, my fault, I messed up. So everybody did it. So hopefully Doug could bring that back to the table, and maybe, pull Fox.
Uh-oh. Mike Bibby froze. Frozen Mike Bibby face is kind of funny though.
Mike Bibby, you're frozen.
Damn.
You know what's funny? As Mike Bibby is frozen.
Oh, he's back. He's back. You froze again.
Oh no!
Are you back? All right. I think Mike's back.
Mike, you're good.
You there?
Okay.
All right.
Yeah.
I like that you're gonna adjust your camera like that was gonna fix the issue.
I don't know. It's bad service in here.
Mike's a big tech guy. I don't know if you know this.
Oh, dude, yeah.
Very big.
Oh, by the way, Mike, how many TVs you got behind you there, man?
So we always play.
Oh, don't move too much,
Why'd I
Mike.
do
Yeah,
that?
why would
That's
you
on me.
do
That's
that?
a turnover.
Oh, there. 1, 2, 3, 4.
Oh my god.
So these are for the video. The 3 are for the video game, and the one up top is for like to watch TV, because we have a lot of things. I'll take you guys around.
Yay! Oh my God! Welcome to Mike Bibby's crib.
I don't know how to turn it around.
Oh, look at you!
I love this. Yeah.
Oh man, the good old days.
I got the Jordan stuff up there.
That's awesome.
This is a little golf game that I got, a little video golf game.
That is connected to another TV. Love it.
Yeah, so we changed the screen. So this is what I have up here for the
Yes, that's so awesome.
2001, 2002.
Mike. And I saw the jerseys.
We got the first NBA Jam, but the first video game I'm in here.
Whoa. Okay.
That is so cool.
And then I got my jerseys hanging up here. This is our set of the podcast that we do. We do it all right here. So.
Oh wow.
Oh, yeah. Plug the pod, Mike.
Yeah, Straight Game Podcast on all levels, wherever you watch your podcast at. Go follow us.
Good job. Good job.
Love
Thank
it.
you.
Yep.
Thank you.
Mike, we really appreciate your perspective on this. It's been too long since we've seen your face. Go ahead, Morgan.
And we're going to
No,
have...
I'll be back at June, the 5th or 6th. I was supposed to be back, so I'll be back.
Okay.
I was watching the game last night, and I went to sleep thinking they won, and I woke up, and I didn't. I didn't get to see the end. What happened?
Oh, Mike, you don't. I don't know if you want to know what happened.
Well, let's put it this way: Mike Brown's no longer that coach anymore.
Yeah.
Wait, and let me ask you this:
Oh yeah.
what time you going to bed, Mike? You can't stay up late and watch NBA anymore.
No, you got to remember it's an hour later here, and I wake up at 3:30.
Yeah. At 3, he has a schedule he sticks to every day. Every day.
3:30 every morning, Deuce.
And he takes a nap later on in the day. I know your schedule, Mike. I got
I
you.
take a lot of naps. I was sleeping there for like a 3-hour nap. If you want to call it a nap, you can call it a nap. Or you could call it going to sleep. It's one of the two.
Other thing, Mike, we got to have you, because I know we've talked about this, and we're going to have you on the podcast in the new year, because I want us all to be together, like in person. But I'm laughing that the first time that you're actually coming on the podcast is after Sacramento Kings head coach is getting fired. So
I know, that's crazy.
But we had to get his perspective, one, and I'm like, oh, he also knows like Doug Christie
It's
well.
true.
So like
It's true.
I think Doug would be great for the spot. Just the fact that, the guys respect him and they're going to play hard. They'll play hard for Doug. Kind of like when Scotty Brooks came and coached the first 2 games. Eric Musselman got suspended for the first 2 games, and Scotty Brooks came in, and just his demeanor and the way he talked to us made us want to play hard for him. He won his first 2 games in Sacramento. It's just that you get a guy that you want to be able to lean on and be able to talk to. And I think Doug is one of those guys.
damn. And then you guys were out on Musselman fast, huh?
hey,
No, he got suspended for the first 2 games.
I know.
Something happened in the first 2 games. But he coached the rest of the season.
look at Mike's face. Look at Mike's face.
1 year in Sacramento. And then I think it was what? I think Reggie came in and like took your phones. Oh, man, crazy times in Sacramento.
He didn't take. He was trying to do a lot of college stuff that wasn't going to work.
Oh my goodness.
No comment.
Do you remember why Musselman was suspended, Morgan?
Oh no, I don't remember that story.
Because he got a DUI in the preseason.
Hey,
the coach.
Yeah.
Hey,
Crazy.
okay.
Crazy times.
Yeah.
Oh well.
Well, we'll see what happens, Mike. I appreciate you hopping on, and I can't wait to see you in person soon.
It can't get any worse. That's what you got to look at. It can't get any worse.
I love that.
It's just that you hate to see. Like 5-game skid. This team is better than that. You know what I mean? They're better than that just by looking at the games. They're in some of the games, but it's just disappointing that I think this might be the turnaround that they needed.
I'm gonna hang that quote up on our wall. It can't get any worse. Mike Bibby.
Oh, it can't.
All
Thanks
right.
for having me on, guys.
We'll see you in a couple weeks, Mike.
All right, see you guys later.
Bye.
That's the one and only Mike Bibby
He's
joining
the
us.
best.
He is the best. What's funny is seeing him try to turn off his phone right
Yeah,
now.
let's
He
watch
still
it.
can't connect.
Can he do it?
He doesn't.
Why are you putting it on blast like that? Let him go. Turn it off.
I just need a laugh. That's all I'm asking for.
Oh
so
my God. Mike is the worst at tech. Worst when it comes to tech.
I kicked him out for him.
Oh, good job. Good job. That was him trying to get out for so long. He's so great.
Yeah,
get
it was
any
good to
worse.
hear Mike's perspective, someone who's been a player in this league and knows Doug Christie a little bit. But yeah, that's definitely not always. Yeah. What's up?
He's just.
Oh, Bojack. Go ahead, show Bo. It was good to get a laugh for a second too, Morgan. I got to be honest. Like on a day where I don't feel like laughing a lot, Mike did make me laugh. Are you trying to grab Bo?
Yeah, but without.
All right. Bring on Bojack, our next insider. Hey, Bojack, your quick thoughts on what happened today.
Oh, what a bitchy little face.
Stunned silence.
Oh, bitchy face.
Stunned silence.
Love you.
We got Sean Cunningham, who's going to join us in just a few minutes to offer his perspective. He was at Kings practice today, and he's been covering this team for a long, long time now.
Yeah.
So.
Yep.
Man. Appreciate all the
Interesting
basketball
times.
sickos hanging out with us today, too.
I know.
To try to process all this with us.
Yeah,
and I
crazy.
know it's been... these pods are always interesting because it's just instant reaction, going by how you feel. And they're kind of all over the place in a fun way. You know what I mean?
What? These type of
podcasts.
Absolutely. And I mean, like we took even a little bit more time than usual to just kind of take a breath, process, see if any other information was going to come out, just because I mean, it's tough, but at the same time, like, you understand it's the business and this is bound to happen in Sacramento at least every couple of years. Don't you forget it.
No, don't you forget it.
Mm.
I'm trying to make sure this is real because
Oh.
there's a statement from Monty McNair about today's decision to move on from Mike Brown.
Let me see if I got an email too.
Let's see who put this out, though.
Yeah, because I didn't get one. It's not real.
It's a fake one.
Good
Got
job.
to.
Good
Always
job.
Look. God, look, NBA Centel, like, you're funny sometimes, but sometimes you're not. You know, we're just looking for news. No, the Kings have not officially released a statement at this hour.
And I don't think it would have said that.
I didn't read. I didn't read it. So.
Okay.
I was scanning it first before I went to it. Oh my goodness.
Well, here we are.
The latest in the poll results, man, almost 3,000 or no, almost 2,400 votes. Was this the right move? 74% of people saying no. 26% say yes. You know, Mike obviously is coming at it from a different angle, talking about maybe he could spark it. I feel like that's the optimistic standpoint, but
and he always, what I like about Mike and his perspective as a player and what he liked as a player and how he liked to be coach, you know, is different than how some other guys, or even just how the league has evolved and how some other players are coached these days and how are treated these days. But at the same time, he said something had to be done and it can't get any worse. It can only get better.
I think everyone looks at the Kings situation and says, man, they need something. I just disagree that this was
100%
the move. Like, I don't know. I don't know how the Kings got better today. It's the same roster. Maybe the rotation changes, all that stuff, but this is where we're at.
That's where I'm at.
All right, something else we're going to try to do. This is fun. We're going to go to our buddy Sean Cunningham, who's getting all set and adjusted his screen. That is...
Oh, my God, Sean. Could
Sean,
you, like, are you Mike Bibby? Like, come on.
Yeah, why does he have it rotated like that?
Like,
I thought it helped if I did that.
No,
Can you hear me?
no.
yeah,
I got
that's
you.
better.
Sean Cunningham from Fox 40 with us. And, you know, you can also hear him and see him on the Kings Beat podcast with James Ham and Brendan Nunez. Sean, I'm so fascinated to get your perspective. I saw you earlier today. We were at practice today.
Hey, buddy.
Hanging out, talking to DeMar DeRozan, talking to Keegan Murray, and talking to Mike Brown. A few minutes later, we're, you know, talking a little bit. I'm like, hey, see you later, Sean. Hey, maybe I'll see you in Stockton Sunday. I'm walking to my car, and I see the alert from Shams that Mike Brown had been let go. What do you make of how this transpired, first of all, before getting your reaction to the decision to move on from Mike?
Yeah, I think I've witnessed a lot since being around this team for the first time since, you know, '01 was the first time in any media capacity, and obviously growing up in Sacramento and, you know, being a Kings fan before that. But this is about as strange as it gets, guys. I mean, I don't want anybody to hear that and think that it's, you know, completely out of the ordinary to fire a coach after a start like the Kings have had in the middle of a, you know, 5-game losing skid. But and certainly, guys, I mean, there's been a lot of chatter of late throughout the league, throughout media. I know fans have speculated, and we were hearing stuff. I was hearing a lot of stuff over the past couple days about how crucial this Pistons game was, and I always kind of scoffed at it because, like, whether it comes down to one game, I don't care if it's the Pistons, the Lakers, whoever it is, no one should go in there and say, hey, if this team wins or loses, if they lose, they're going to lose their coach. If they win, he's going to be safe. Like, it should never come down to one game, because at that point you've already made up your mind. But going into the gym today, Mike Brown is on the head you know, obviously at practice, running practice. His coaching staff is there. Thought the only thing noteworthy of it was Domantas Sabonis isn't there. You know, he's obviously not attending practice today. At that point, you think, okay, Mike Brown is going through practice, and now he's going to coach. He'll get on the flight and he will coach in LA tomorrow night against Lakers. If the thing that baffles me, I'm not saying he got screwed and got fired. Like, no, I'm not saying that, because that's why they get paid a lot of money. No one gets screwed. But it is very wild, and I feel a disservice to a human being to have them go out there and answer questions in front of the media, run a practice, and then not even 10 minutes, maybe 20 minutes later, you're blown up and you are now fired. Now you've made the decision to fire somebody. That to me is very puzzling. It's unfortunate that it played out that way. I'm sure if there was a look, I'm sure, look, it's easy for someone like us to sit here and say, oh, they shouldn't have done that. And look, there is a decorum that people would like to have, but at the end of the day, it's not something that either of us have ever done, where we have to sit somebody down in professional sports, mind you. I'm not saying in corporate America, I'm not saying in the retail job or whatever, but to sit down and fire when you're given the green light, or when whoever's making the decisions have to come to the decision and do so, you have to react appropriately as soon as you have all your ducks in a row. And I just find it odd that the ducks were in a row to where you'd finally let him know after practice, after he's
Yeah.
spoken to the local media about his struggling team and the continued mistakes that they've made on and off the floor. So yeah, baffling, puzzling, whatever word you want to attach to it. Sign me up. I'll co-sign that. That certainly would qualify.
I'm so
to
glad you're making my feelings feel like validated, because I was feeling all these things, and it's not even this, oh, because I like him, or because it's truly because of all those things you just mentioned. But and then you think about the timing of this in the season. And Deuce and I sat here in the beginning of this an hour ago, and we're going, just why right now? What is that? What is the point? Like, did they get better today by firing Mike Brown? I think we can confidently say no, because they still have all their flaws, unless all of a sudden just tomorrow every rotation's going to change and it just somehow it's going to take over this league. So I guess that's where I still stand, and I can ask you, do you have a why now at all? Like, can you answer that?
Well, I think the why now really began with this holiday homestand, this 5-game holiday homestand, which clearly they came into playing a lot better than they had. I mean, it wasn't that long ago we're talking about how they kind of turned the corner a little bit, showing that the scoring was up, and some of the things defensively they'd been working on. They had ended up middle of the pack, and scoring efficiency was there in the top 10, and kind of rounding a corner. DeRozan was back healthy again, but it's also coming at the expense of some lower echelon opponents, and sometimes you have to find your get right games. Certainly, opponents that have come into Golden One Center over these holidays have found their get right games. I mean, you talk about JJ Redick saying that the favorite win of the season came just against the Kings the other night. You see the Pacers, who came in much like the Kings, trying to find themselves, trying to turn their seasons and their fortunes around, and they get an absolute statement win in a game where Tyrese Halliburton, the former King, didn't really play that well, and they found a way to absolutely take it to the Kings. And then you get the Pistons, who come in here fresh off a win against the Lakers. They've got some big wins under their belt, young team looking for any molecule of success, and they go out there and find a way to gut out a win against the Kings in just crazy fashion. And it shows to me what's like that the NBA is a cold business. The NBA is a lot can happen in 24 hours. And you go from a game where you're feeling so low against the Pacers and you're thinking this is the newest low. It's a reminder that it can get lower, and it did. And that Pistons loss, I think, had everybody to a man just looking around going, what just happened? And the funny thing is, and I don't know how much you guys dissected that loss last night, but it almost leaves you like the Doc Rivers meme, kind of speechless as to how things continue to happen. And ultimately, look, it's the nature of the business. There's a fall guy. The coach is always the fall guy when it comes to wins and losses, or at least especially for losses. And no one's going to feel sorry for Mike Brown. He gets to not coach for a while and make a boatload of money in the meantime. So, no one's going to cry for him. But at the same time, it's you get to a point where it's like that can be a hard thing to do, is blame coaching with so much going wrong. You point to the roster imbalance. You point to the little details. There's a lot wrong with this team, it wasn't just coaching, but sometimes it takes a coaching move to finally turn around. They talked, I mean, Mike Brown would be the first person who was talking last night about how the sting of a lower low than what was with the Pacers in the loss of the Pistons, sometimes that is what it'll take to maybe turn things around and get guys mad and get them to lock in. So you couple that with Mike Brown, you go to the Lakers, a team that's kind of had some ownage on you this year. It's gonna make for some interesting times, that's for sure.
The other curious part of this whole thing, right? We talk about the timing, how he was informed, but also, I mean, let's not lose sight of the fact they did give him an extension over the offseason. Like 6 months ago, they gave him a raise for this year and then tacked on those 2 additional years to the deal. Did you get the sense that his leash was going to be short, even though he got the extension over the offseason? Because this is not typical, right? To get an extension and then like lose your job 6 months later.
Right, and yeah, and I don't care how rich an owner is. I mean, no owner is looking to just piss away that amount of money. No, I didn't think that the leash was going to be short per se, but I think once you get to a point in the season where things haven't looked right, I mean, we've talked about it a lot, and I think a lot of people, it's natural to go back 2 years ago and point to that because you have people who, yeah, play that way, do that, and it's not that easy. I mean, personnel changes, even though you largely have the same personnel. The league changes. The way people look at the Sacramento Kings that year compared to this year changes. I mean, they were, you guys know as well as I do. I mean, they were catching some teams. People were looking at the Kings as a cakewalk, and they came out, run you out the gate. You don't want to run with them, they'll collect some wins, and it didn't really lead to any postseason success. Sure, you snapped the playoff streak, but you didn't make it out of the first round. It was an epic matchup with the Warriors. Lost to arguably a more experienced, I mean, arguably a better team, but certainly a more experienced championship caliber team in the Warriors that year. And you weren't ready. You're hoping to build off that. Well, people started looking at you different. Can't take the Kings for granted anymore. They're now a contender. They're now this player. They're going to go out and they bet on their success. They doubled down. You can argue whether or not that should have happened. But certainly this year, in the addition of DeMar DeRozan, make no mistake, fans understand there were some high expectations. I mean, how many media members, people around the league were looking at the Kings as players in the West this year and arguably a 50-win team trying to get better from where they were last year. And clearly that is not where they're headed right now, barring some miraculous turnaround. So this team is what it is right now. And, ticket prices don't get any cheaper. Funny things happen around the holidays. And again, we can talk about the timing and all that stuff. This owner, Vivek Randive, has a lot of experience in firing head coaches. It's kind of what his tenure has been as an owner of this team, among some other really good things that have happened. But a lot of the same old, we're moving on to another coach, we're moving on to another coach, and a lot of this redundancy. And I think that's what makes the timing so puzzling in terms of how they did it today at practice, because had they done it this morning before practice, had they done it late last night, I don't think we're talking about the same thing. Surely I think they might still talk to people that would say, hey, it wasn't Mike Brown's fault. Why'd he get fired? But you wouldn't have this puzzlement as to how they did it, why they did it, why they chose now to do that. And because they've had the experience of firing so many people as an organization, I would have thought that they would have not done it this way. I don't want to say botched, because again, not having been in a role like that in my life, I don't know what it's like to go through that. But people I've talked to, other coaches who have gotten fired in these past hours that I've talked to, all of them are like, wow, that's kind of cold to have him go out there and have to answer for things and then get fired. It wasn't after a game, it was after a practice. You're putting in your game plan for the next day.
And he talked to the media for about 16 minutes after practice.
What does this mean for someone like De'Aaron Fox? Because I think so many people have the mixed messages of like, oh, last night after the Pistons game, Mike Brown just went in on him. And I mean, criticized parts of his game that I thought were absolutely valid as anyone that knows basketball. And De'Aaron didn't come out and have the best post-game presser. But then you're seeing today also how much De'Aaron liked Mike Brown. What does this mean for De'Aaron's future? And does he trust the organization, or is this like a Did he know it was going to happen? Like, do you have any information on that?
I don't, but I can say this. I mean, look, De'Aaron Fox wanted Mike Brown as a head coach.
Yes. Okay.
When he first got here, when he extended, the messaging was very much the same. Certainly within that locker room, Mike Brown has his critics. I mean, I'm not going to, I won't name them, but he certainly has critics within that locker room, and they may have grown louder over the past several days. I'll say this: I haven't shared this anywhere else, but last night after the game, as you guys know, I tend to get to the locker room very, very quickly. And in the hallway leading up to the locker room, after Mike Brown and De'Aaron Fox already spoken to the media, some were still kind of waiting to see if Trey Lyles would come to the interview room as opposed to speak in the locker room. He did not. He ended up speaking in the locker room. But I get to the locker room right when it opens, and in the hallway, Mike Brown was speaking with Rasay, and they were having a decent conversation, enough to where it wasn't contentious. It wasn't anything like that. And De'Aaron Fox, who had just finished up his media session in the interview room, walks out into the hall, sees Mike and De'Aaron Fox hug. So, like, you're not hugging a guy that you're looking to kick the hell out of the building. So,
Yeah.
In terms of relationship, obviously Deuce was there at practice today. You saw, obviously, the moment we all saw when you could practically hear a pin drop despite basketballs dribbling in the background, where Mike goes up and talks to De'Aaron. And if you're good at reading lips, you can kind of see it had to do with last night. And that looked to be an interesting conversation. I don't want to say odd. It was odd that it wasn't really a conversation. There was a lot of head nodding from Fox. It was obviously something that Mike had to say. And then he went and spoke about it to us after practice was over. I don't think there's a cynic alive that's going to say De'Aaron Fox marched into Monty McNair's office and said, this guy has to go. So I think the wheels were set in stone, or was set in motion in the days leading up to the Pistons game. I think the chatter was real. And I think there was just, ultimately, when you get enough people, whoever the ultimate decider is, in my opinion, that ends up being Vivek Ranadive. Once you make the decision, you have to make the decision. And it's just unfortunate the way that played out.
So now it sounds like Doug Christie is going to be the interim head coach, which is not exactly the easiest task for anybody to take over a team in this situation, trying to salvage a season, turn things around with expectations. What's your thought on Doug and what he has to do and try to accomplish here?
Yeah, I love Doug, as you guys do, as a person, as a competitor. He's someone we've all known for a very long time, going from, radio host, analyst to assistant coach. He got to scratch that itch of, he has such a strong desire of wanting to be a head coach in the league, and being able to scratch that itch in the summer league, I think was a big opportunity for him, and something that he embraced with two hands. And make no mistake, he was critical in that team. He wore some of those losses in the summer league rather hard. And I cringe at it a little bit, because he's taking over a team with such high expectations. A lot of vets on the team, and he's a vet, and now he's stepping in ahead of the associate head coach, Jay Triano, who was Mike's head coach. We'll see if I would imagine that, I haven't heard any different. I would imagine the coaching staff remains intact.
Okay.
I think Alvin Gentry is certainly going to be a resource in this whole process as well, using his expertise as someone who's still within the organization. But I'm happy for Doug that he finally gets to become an NBA head coach, albeit an interim basis. It's something that, if all goes well, he gets an opportunity to probably secure that role going forward. He has a lot of fans within the organization, as you guys know, and they're littered throughout that organization. People want to see Doug Christie do well. There are people who want to see Doug Christie as a head coach. Long before this Mike Brown situation ever became a hire in Sacramento, before Mike Brown ever came to Sacramento, there were people pushing for Doug Christie. So I'm intrigued to see it. It's unfortunate that it comes the way it does. And if I'm Doug Christie, and look, there's no perfect situation to, if you're a coach, you've got to be able to take your opportunity when you can get it, no matter who it's with. When you want to be an NBA head coach, doing so on the interim basis, it adds about 1,000 times more weight to it. Some could say it's a pressureless situation. He won't. I don't think he will say that, because now you're auditioning for a job that ultimately you want to keep, and you're auditioning for a future job in that as well. People might now look at you a little bit different. So I'm curious to see what it looks like. I'm curious to see how players respond to it. Um, it's going to be some interesting
Yeah.
weeks ahead for us.
I think what you just said there is it. Like, what's it look like in a few weeks? Because you mentioned De'Aaron and his relationship with Mike. There's so much talk about De'Aaron's future in Sacramento after Rich Paul's visit here. Yeah, I mean, what could this team look like by February 6th when the deadline's here? Is it blown up? Is it tweaked? Is Fox still here? Is Sabonis? I mean, I just feel like everything's on the table at this point. Am I right on that?
I mean, it should be. I mean, you again, you make the move to relieve the head coach. That doesn't help your roster imbalance. You're still very short as a team. You're still missing a lot of physicality. Maybe there's a rotationally or a different train of thought that comes with Doug Christie coming in there, but I think there's only so much you can do from within your roster. I think it's incumbent upon this front office to go out and make moves. But I also do wonder, Deuce. I mean, it comes at a time where you just let go of your head coach. You have some concerns about your future with De'Aaron Fox, whether he wants to remain in Sacramento, seeing that maybe the Kings aren't positioned well to succeed throughout the NBA, and he wants to go at a place where he can find success. He's already got the dollar amount. Now he wants to go and find the success. You could argue, and we always talk about, for right, wrong, and different, Vivek Ranadive always has his say in these matters as well. So it's a collective, and that's not unique to Sacramento. It's like that everywhere. But if you have a front office who just let go of the head coach, and I wonder how much freedom is given. Like, if let's just play a hypothetical here. If you're going out there and you find a deal and it's, hey, we need to get something for De'Aaron Fox, do you have the green light to trade him? Do you have a green light to trade? Let's put him aside. Do you have a green light to trade someone like Sabonis? Do you have a green light to go and trade your precious draft capital to go out and find some help for this team? Like, what's the too much is too much in terms of trust for this front office to go out and do it? Again, that's just speculation, but you did just let go of the head coach. There's really nobody else left to blame anymore except for your front office. So now, whatever heat the front office might have felt before the firing of Mike Brown, I only imagine gets even hotter going forward. And so I wonder what the freedom is for somebody like Monty McNair to go out there and do a balls to the wall, swing for the fences type of move, or even a smaller move. And you just have to make sure that your owner is on board with it, and will they give you the freedom to do it? So it's I think it's always that way, like it or not. Like, I think you always have the freedom as long as you have enough people signing off on it. I don't think it's literally one guy's idea and he goes out and does it. I think there is a temperature of the room crowdsourcing kind of thing within the organization, but I just wonder how much harder now that is to do once you fired the head coach.
Sacramento, man. The more things change, the more they stay the same.
Ooh, that line.
It's wild, man.
That line
It's
right
wild.
there.
Sean, I appreciate your perspective, man. Thanks for hopping on last second. I know you're going to be busy, and
have fun being busy.
Eager to hear what you learn in the coming days, man.
Heading down to LA, which I didn't think I'd be doing this weekend. So
okay. Yeah.
We'll hear from Doug Christie. We'll hear from hopefully Monty McNair. I think it's interesting that the move was made and we didn't really get to hear from anybody yet. So again, timing is everything. And that's again one of the things that, like, all right, we're going to make a move. We haven't heard from the GM yet. So hopefully that's something we'll be able to get in the coming days. Hopefully maybe as early as tomorrow.
Get that inside scoop.
All right, Sean. I'm sure we'll be talking soon. Thanks, man. I appreciate you.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
So one and only Sean Cunningham from Fox 40. We appreciate Sean and Mike Bibby for hopping on and giving us their perspective. And yeah, I mean, this next few weeks is going to be fascinating in Sacramento, the coming days. If you've been frustrated with this team this year and how things have unfolded, in some ways, you may be watching, even if you're not totally glued in, how the corner of your eye going, what's going to happen next? How is this team going to respond? Is there more to come? I feel like there will be more to come. What is it? When will it happen? Well, the trade deadline is February 6th. What direction is this thing going to go? A lot of uncertainty, but that's in some ways the beauty and pain that comes with being a sports fan. You really just do not know what's going to happen. 2 years ago, when the Kings won 48 games, no one thought they would win 48 games. This year, there was some guy on a podcast, believe it or not, that said that they could win like 53 games in a season and be a top 4 seed.
What an idiot.
What a clown.
What
an idiot.
Idiot.
And what do you see? They're 13 and 18, right? They lost 5 in a row, 6 and 12 at home. It's painful.
It sure is.
I was getting coffee today before practice, and this person that was working there, she's kind of a newer Kings fan, and she's super invested in it now. I'm like, hey, just hang in there. Just hang in there. I'm like, look, you gotta hang through the tough times because it makes the great times that much sweeter. Fortunately, there haven't been a lot of great times throughout the years, and we've appreciated the small wins along the way.
Hell yeah.
When the team was bad, we celebrated getting
God.
a top 4 pick in the draft. And when the team was maybe moving to Anaheim, we celebrated that we got another year. Then when that looked like it was falling apart, we rallied together and we're like, hopefully this team doesn't go to Seattle. And then you celebrated them staying. Then you celebrated the change. Then you celebrated the new arena. It was all these things that really weren't basketball related, but because Sacramento has so much pride in their team, you enjoyed those wins.
Mm-hmm.
And then I think we all enjoyed what we saw, with a 48-win season.
When you saw magic on the actual basketball floor, and that's where you want to see it. It was beautiful.
Man, you just want one period of time where it's just sustained success.
For a little bit of time.
Can't get like a 5-year run?
Don't get greedy. Say 3.
I know.
Say 3.
I know. A 3-year good run?
Just say 3. Just put it out there.
So,
3.
Yeah.
Hey. Well, like Mike Bibby said, it can't get any worse, huh?
Well, we'll see.
Okay. Can we just...
Let's get to some final thoughts, Morgan, because there's going to be a lot more that comes out with this story, but we want to hop on and give our instant reaction and at least talk things out. You have some final thoughts?
Really glad we got to do this today because obviously we're going to be doing pre and post tomorrow on NBC Sports California. And I didn't even know where my mind was at about 2 hours ago. So now feeling a little better, processing everything. I love even that little nugget that Sean had about in the hallway, De'Aaron coming out, hugging Mike Brown after his presser. You know, like whether you already know that something's going to happen because of the rumblings behind the scenes that started leaking out to other people. And now we're here again, where another head coach is fired in Sacramento. And it sucks. The change sucks being in a small market and not having all the perks of being in a bigger market. There's things that sucks, but like challenge accepted, bitches. Let's go.
Challenge accepted. Yeah. Feel all the feels, feel all the emotions. And then you got a game tomorrow, Kings and Lakers. We'll be here live after every game. We'll be reacting to news as it happens. And we appreciate you being here. The one thing I want to encourage you guys to do is drop comments on this YouTube video after, get the conversation, keep going. Make sure to hit the thumbs up and subscribe too, because it just helps our channel grow. And we really appreciate you guys being with us. I hope this turns around one of these days. I really do.
We'll be here.
That's all I want, This is not like, As you can tell, I'm still processing all this.
I mean, like you just went down a dark place.
I care.
Calm.
I care a lot. I care.
We were doing final thoughts.
I care a lot, and these people care a lot.
We care a lot. We all care a lot. That's why we're all here hours after a firing again in Sacramento, even with the 5-game losing streak, because we all care a lot. Don't ever let anything dim your light. Keep this passion, keep this loyalty, because not gonna lie, like it's not leaving my body. Like I'm always going to be a Kings fan in one way, shape, or form. So you might as well keep that passion and that love and that joy, some joy that comes along with the ride. And you celebrate the wins, not just the literal wins, but when there's ever any good moments. This is why Deuce and I sit here after every single game and say, don't forget this stretch. Don't forget this time. Don't forget this feeling, because you might not ever feel this again. And in fact, it can get even darker as soon as you reach something closer to the top.
Kings win by 30 tomorrow, like someone says in the chat. Oh, done, Christie. I know what. I gotta go. We love you guys so much, but we gots to go.
You all have a wonderful rest of your night. See ya.
Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. They tell you what they know. Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo, Deuce and Mo. The podcast that